Oil City Amps and Guitars. I'm Aaron, and we're here to talk about the Warm Audio mystery boxes that Warm Audio and Reverb did earlier this year in 2026. I bought 10 mystery boxes, I got 6 individual pedals, and we're going to go through and look at each one. Today, we're going to look at the Foxy Tone Box. Seen here in this bright orange flocking, it is based off of the vintage Foxy Tone Octave Fuzz box, used famously by basically every guitarist in the 60s at some point or another, mostly though, I think, associated with the Who. I don't like Octave Fuzz. I've been playing guitar for over 25 years, I've been building amps for going on 15 now, building pedals for just as long, and I've never found an Octave Fuzz that I like. But today, I'm going to see if I can find some tones in this pedal that I think I could put to use, and that I think maybe some other guys that come from the same traditions of playing that I do might also be able to put to use. So the signal for today, vintage Telecaster of unknown origin with unknown pickups, into the Foxy Tone Box, straight into our Fender Princeton Reverb reissue with a 12-inch Jensen speaker, being mic'd by a Warm Audio WA-19 directly into our universal audio interface. No post-processing, just straight in. What you hear is what you get. We've got a little bit of reverb on there from the amplifier. We may turn that up as we go. And this is the fuzz. So right now, everything is set. Right ahead at noon. No octave turned on. Immediately right away, I will say I'm impressed with the ability of the fuzz to add thickness that doesn't sound flubby, which is what I remember the Foxy Tone sounding like in the other versions I've played. I mean, I feel like we can really even get up here and get quite a bit of definition. And it really rings out very well, but I want to see how it sounds when we're playing in the high notes, because I remember in most encounters with this circuit that you lose a lot of definition in pick attack, and I'm wondering if that's the same thing here. Yeah, just like those older circuits that I've encountered, it really starts to to be an eloquent fart out on those top ends of the notes. You lose a lot of the definition. So let's see if there's any way we can deal with that or find some way around it. So since we are all the way across at noon, we're going to leave the volume alone, turn the sustain up, and turn the fuzz down and see what that gives us. So yeah, the notes on the high end have a bit more definition there. That's starting to get into something I think we can do something with. So that setting there, which I'm quite fond of, that's actually getting into something I can see myself using. We've got our fuzz mellow to bright control, which I'm assuming is the tone. We've actually backed the tone off to about 11 o'clock, and we've increased the fuzz sustain up to about 1 o'clock. But it's an octave fuzz. People want to hear the octave. That's what they're here for. Let's flip the switch and see what it sounds like. Talk about an ice pick to the ear. All right, so we're on the bridge pickup, and for the purposes of maintaining consistency, we'll stay on it for now. We've got our octave in our Octave Fuzz. So I've always been told, I've always heard that the best place to use an Octave Fuzz is to switch to your neck pickup and play high up on the neck. So let's see how that sounds. So that octave really comes through there. Though I still struggle to see, I can hear Hendrix and I can hear some of the Who stuff and things like that have this Octave Fuzz on it. I personally am not really seeing how I would use it. Let's play with the controls and we'll find a sound. There's gotta be. Keeping the volume as it is, we're gonna go ahead and back off on the fuzz control here. Turn the sustain down, turn the tone all the way down, and see how that sounds. That classic atonal sound, because the fuzz is not digital, it's not tracking anything, and it's not polyphonic. So you can't play chords when it's in octave form, but you can get that really dissonant kind of sound that some bands are known to using it for. Let's bring a little bit of that tone back in. Okay, now we're getting somewhere there. Let's add a little bit more reverb to this. We'll bring the amp controls up to 5 and 5 on the treble and bass, 4 on the reverb, and the volume is set to between 3 and 4 right now. Okay, that's really getting somewhere. I think maybe that's what this pedal really needs. It needs to be in that big open space. When you think about somebody like Keith Richards, who famously used a fuzz, not this fuzz, that would not be the Octave Fuzz that he was using. He was using the old Gibson fuzzes. He would feed those into these big Fender amplifiers with a lot of reverb on it, and I think that really kind of rounds the edge off the note there. So let's bring up more of that fuzz sustain. We're going to go ahead and max the fuzz control all the way out. We're going to turn the octave off for a moment, see how it sounds without the octave and then with the octave. So we're going to go back to the bridge pickup, fuzz maxed out. This is how it sounds. Yeah, that really is doing something there. I can see why you hear a lot of those old fuzz tones and they just have this massive amount of reverb behind them because it really rounds off something. All right, let's add the octave back in. We've now got our tone control at about 830. Almost all the way off, but not quite. Switch to the middle position, add a little bit more brightness back in. misjudged this pedal. I may have misjudged you, Octave Fuzz users. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I can really see myself annoying my neighbors with this sound. I think what my problem has been is I'm usually an Esquire, Les Paul Jr. kind of player, and not having that neck pickup, which seems to really accentuate this circuit, is what I was missing. I think I've found sounds that I like both with and without the octave. Fair play to Warm Audio and the Foxy Tone Box, because you've made me a believer in Octave Fuzz, which is not something that I thought could be done. Talking about users when it comes to the Foxy Tone. The original Foxy Tone Fuzz. The big guy when it comes to that is Billy Gibbons. Billy Gibbons really took to this unit in the late 80s through the late 90s. Used it on a ton of ZZ Top records. You hear a lot of this octavey kind of over-the-top playing with his very stereotypical like pinch harmonic notes on their record with Mean specifically. If you are looking for tracks that feature it, Pincushion is a good one to go and listen to. Billy Gibbons actually ended up having a version of this fuzz made by MXR, which had a graphic EQ included into the circuit so that he could specifically pick out exactly the note frequencies that he wanted, which is something that obviously the Foxy Tone didn't originally have, but gave him a bit more control over his signal. But it did sacrifice some of that original grittiness, and he's gone back to using an original Foxy Tone Fuzz. Other users of this circuit are Peter Frampton, Adrian Belew, and Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, who also took to it in the late 90s. I think there's a period of time where after the Smashing Pumpkins really made the Big Muff the fuzz to use and the prices skyrocketed on those units, a lot of guys were looking for a vintage fuzz that didn't cost as much as a new guitar. And since Big Muffs were in vogue, people started reaching for other things. And this was one of them. And this recreation really goes a long way of getting it exactly right. Going so far as to purchasing new old stock transistors so that internally this unit is identical to those original vintage units. Down to the transistors. They're from the same lots made in the same factories. Which also means that once those are gone, these are gone. They may rebrand them as something else, but they'll be using different transformers, and the sounds that you get will be different. Transformers, especially in a simple fuzz circuit like this, and an octave fuzz even more so, really affect the sound of the unit. So the fact that Warm Audio has gone out and bought vintage transformers in mass to mass produce this pedal says a lot about their dedication to getting that original sound, warts and all. That's something to really be applauded, I think. We're gonna do some more demos on this. We've done a bunch with the Telly here. We'll go ahead and switch to some humbuckers now. All right, we're gonna try this out with some humbuckers. This is a 2005 Fender Esquire Spirit GTO model with the beautiful racing stripes. And instead of the stock pickup which was in it, which I believe was an Invader, which is a super high output humbucker, this has a Seymour Duncan JB, which is a little bit more polite, but still gets pretty rude when you want it to. So we're gonna see how this handles bridge humbucking pickups. This is our clean tone with our humbuckers. Hard to beat. And this is everything set to noon on our fuzz, no octave. That absolutely, the thickness of it still comes through with the humbucker. And this is a high output humbucker, you know, 16K, and it'll push most amps pretty hard, which was the original idea of the JB when these guys didn't have overdrive pedals and the only drive they could get was from a fuzz like this, and they wanted something cleaner. They wanted to hit that front end of the amp. So hitting the front end of this fuzz gives you a very different sort of sound and feel under the fingers, which you can really hear when we go up to these low notes. The bass is really tourniqueted and shelved off with this pickup compared to the single coils we were playing. We lose some of the bloom of the note, which I think I've often been a humbucker or P90 player, and this, to me, this fuzz does not play as well with humbuckers as it does with single coils. Just immediately there, we've lost some of the articulation of this fuzz. I'm gonna go ahead and roll back to some settings that I've found that I kind of like, where we have the fuzz maxed out and the tone turned down to about 830, which is basically just barely with any high end being added to the circuit, and see how that sounds with humbuckers. Kind of fine-tune that high frequency to try to find where we can find the edge and the attack of the note. So let's try that. I think we're closer. So we're now up to about 1030, and I think that's a much happier place for the tone control with humbuckers. So there really is a difference in the brightness and the attack of the note when you're using humbuckers. So let's see what we get when we turn the octave on. I'm going to save all of us from that. As you can see by looking at this guitar, there's no tone control. We're at under half on the tone knob on the fuzz. I think this is a no for these kinds of guitars. I think it really doesn't work very well with humbuckers. Another note that I would make is if you're using active pickups, this is not the fuzz for you. You want to find a big muff, you want to find a Sono, you want to find something that is a 4-transistor fuzz, not a 2-transistor fuzz like this. Active pickups have a much different impedance load than passive pickups, and your pickup literally functions as part of the circuit in a fuzz like this. And so having that high impedance signal from active pickups basically makes it not function. That's definitely one of those we don't know until we break something kind of moments. It will literally break the fuzz in the sense that it won't work. That's humbuckers, and I'm gonna say don't. I'm gonna say I don't feel like, at least not for me. I'm sure now that I say that, there will be some dream pop guy that plugs this exact guitar with this exact pickup into this exact pedal and make $1 million. More power to him. We're gonna try this guy on bass. Now we're back, and we're gonna try it with my favorite bass currently here in the studio, which is the Ashdown Saint Soap. It has a little Filtertron looking humbucker here in the middle position. 1 volume, 1 tone, a beautiful roasted maple neck, and it is the sturdiest bass I think I've ever seen. I picked it up, I put the tuner on it, and it was basically fully in tune. And I'm not sure when the last time it was played was, but I know that where we're at now, the humidity is 100% outside. That's pretty impressive. It's definitely not something you get out of a lot of basses, especially one that's at this price point. So you know, maybe asking yourself, but Aaron, that's a bass. You're not supposed to play basses through guitar amplifiers. And while you are technically correct, 2 things are going to happen. 1, when we turn this fuzz on, it is going to shelve off most of the bass frequencies. Usually bass players, when they use something like this, will use what's called bi-amping, where they have a frequency split somewhere and a bunch of their signal goes to guitar-only range, and those pedals are fuzzes and drives and things like that, and then the full range frequency will remain clean. And the other thing I say to that is, Carol Kaye played as part of the Wrecking Crew on literally dozens of #1 hits, playing a P bass through a Fender Twin. So I think we'll be okay. This is our clean tone with our bass here. And this is all knobs, back at noon. I'm going to go ahead and roll my tone back a little bit here. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm more impressed by it on bass than I have been on anything else. That's something. Let's see how it sounds with the octave in. Let's see if we can find something there. I've got the tone rolled all the way off on the bass. I'm going to roll the tone all the way off on the pedal and see what we get. Alright, that's a little too dark. I find it a little less useful with the octave on, but I really feel like this pedal is doing something for me on the bass. Let's go back to the octave off. Yeah, I think there's something there with that. You can definitely get... Again, I have dumped most of the tone control out. Well, if nothing else, I'm definitely keeping this around the studio for bass, because that's a pretty great sound. I feel like if we hook up a couple of vintage Fender Twins, run this in front of it, we could rattle the windows out of a building. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day, isn't it? We're going to play out here. I think I'm even going to bring in some tremolo on the old amp here, just lightly, and we'll see you on the next one.